Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Mayfield and Friends, the working title that has become the official title. I am here today with Yak, also known as Yakety. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yakety, mainly go by Yak because lost the RSN, so it's easier just to call me by that simple name. I'm 27 years old, have a wife and kid, and I try and grind out RuneScape as much as I can.
Awesome. What kind of account build do you play currently?
I'm currently a level 3 normal skiller. I've tried the regular Iron Man, the UIM, and nothing seemed to go my way with that. So I stick to what I can use the GE for.
And you will be, apologies for the voice crack, you will be the first non-iron on the little cast I've got going on here. How does that make you feel?
Standing on the shoulders of giants, really.
Oh my gosh. So,
Uh,
what were we gonna say? Sorry.
go. I was just going to say, while I don't play the Iron Man account, I do generally respect the people that do because you're not only limiting yourself, but you're agreeing to a time commitment longer than what I could ever hope to do. So, yeah, I play the normal skiller and log on and enjoy as much as I can.
So, what drove you to create a skiller? Have you always been into skilling, or was it kind of something you fell into after a certain point?
I started playing RuneScape back in 2002 when it was still a browser-based game, back when no one knew anything, so I was playing combat on that. Played it up until around 2006 and then quit closer to the era of combat age. I actually came back in 2018 playing RS3 and mucking around on that, but I'm not sure what drove my eye to old school, but when I came back, I just had either no interest or no knowledge of combat, so I stuck to skilling. And then that just kind of became the norm with the account.
So, when you played RS3, did you play combat on RS3 because it's so different, or did you also tend to stick to skilling in that version of the game as well?
I would say I stuck to skilling. You log in and you're kind of inundated with all this new stuff that they've done. And if you haven't played in the 10 years like I did, you have no idea what's going on. I could
Absolutely.
never, there's settings in there now where you can go to old school style combat, but I found that out 4 years after I'd even started. So RS3, I stuck to the skilling side. It
Now,
wasn't a level 3 per se, but
that's
it
fair.
stuck to skilling out of simplicity.
So, because you're the first person I've talked to who has some mild RS3 experience like myself, I want to ask you kind of a fun question. If you could have any of the skills in RS3 that are not in OSRS, which skill would you pick and why?
Let's see, they have what, 4 or 5 different ones?
Yep. So you've got
Uh,
summoning, invention, divination, dungeoneering, archaeology. I think that's it.
yeah, I think it's archaeology. I'd probably say dungeoneering out of the unique aspect of it being viewed as a combat skill, or at least requiring combat. So it's definitely more viable for a level 3 and would look nice. But I'm currently revving up my other accounts in RS3 right now, and I've been more into archaeology. So while I enjoy archaeology, dungeoneering would be more, what's the word you would say, available or inviting for people to play.
Yeah, that makes sense. Since this is the first question, I think I'm gonna go ahead and answer it myself as well. I think I'd go with invention, just because it could add so much to the game and create a really healthy environment for items that don't get used anymore. Like, and that's just me thinking economically and less like practicality. If it was like a skill I wanted, I would definitely pick divination.
Yeah, I've been enjoying divination. I haven't made it to the well, I've made it to the Gothics area, but I think I ran around for 5 minutes and thought, uh-oh, I never went back. No, I do agree with divination. The ability to item sync in a game that's been around for 20 years efficiently is definitely a good call from Jagex.
Yeah, and I think it
I
works
don't.
really well with augmenting weaponry and like making stuff that wasn't previously as strong for like mid-level accounts could make it like a lot more worthwhile to keep longer in the game. Like, of course, we have the iconic Dragon Scimitar early game to mid game Iron Man weapon that they use until they get the whip, right? So being able to like augment your DSim if you want to spend the time unlocking invention would be really interesting. Would be an interesting take on how Iron Man would change how they play the game.
Yeah, it definitely opens up possibilities, especially if you have those grinds where you're going through and have to wait over 100 hours for your next upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. So you said you play a level 3 regular skiller. So let's talk about that a little bit. So share with us what your stats are, biggest achievements in your current account, and what you're shooting for.
Currently, I'm a max level 3. When I made this account, I wanted to max it within a year, which I was able to achieve. Subsequently, I'm working on post 99 experience, but that's more out of necessity for the pet hunting I'm doing right now. I'm part of a level 3 completionist Discord that focuses on obtaining as many collection log slots as possible. I'm taking a small break from the big grinds, things like Castle Wars and Clue Scrolls, and I'm just trying to go for all skilling pets right now.
Okay, awesome. Well, what pets do you have right now?
Let's pull this up. I have 7 of 12, but I like to say 13 because I like to consider the Barbarian Assault pet obtainable for level 3s.
And does 12 include the omelet as well, since that's technically quote unquote obtainable?
Ooh, well, now it's 14. So, yeah, I have a Heron, the Rock Golem, the Squirrel, Rocky, the Rift Guardian, Herbie, and the Temporos pet.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yep. Post 99 experience hunting for pets now becomes daunting because 99 is no longer your end. 200 mils the end for it, and then you get the pity pet.
Yeah, I forget what is. Do you remember what the rate is for getting the pet posted 200 mil if you didn't get it by then?
It's a 15 times increased chance, but that does not count for mini games.
So like Temperos and Wintertide would not count then, and same with Guardians of the Rift.
Yeah. Yep. All three of those pets that came out.
Okay. So what drives you to the completionist lifestyle instead of the traditional 200 mil all skiller go? I think when a lot of people think that skillers once they max they traditionally go 200 mil all, or they attempt to at least.
It's definitely I would say the traditional way of thinking because experience is obtainable. The grind is going to be, I think Temple has it listed closer to 13,000 EHP. That's what JCW has.
Hmm.
So it's a very long grind, and I don't imagine many people are putting in more than even 1,000 efficient hours a year. So yeah, that's definitely the traditional way. When I created the account, I wanted to do something new because I've had a previous level 3, and that was more geared toward gaining experience. I mean, COVID came, and that was a 2 year vacation from life. So that offered a lot of time to just beef up the account, either with experience or EHP if that's what you wanted to go for.
Hmm.
But yeah, with this new account, I wanted to see what the community was doing, see what they were doing that no one else is trying to do in this community. It's a very small community, level 3, maybe a few hundred at most that are actively playing. But within that small group, you have an even smaller group trying to push the game limits of what these type of accounts can do.
There's always those guys, whether it be regular level threes or the iron level threes, that are always trying to push to see what quests are completable. I know that we have guys like Keyboard OSRS who's done contact on a hardcore level three, which is extremely impressive.
Yep, and those are the guys I refer to when I stand on the shoulders of giants. There's Keyboard. I'm gonna apologize for mispronouncing this. Lohikasaurus? I bet I didn't pronounce that right, so I'll apologize. And then there's Chad, who has made Combat 3 accounts and shown guys for contact and everything. I was actually very fortunate that I was in contact with Keyboard when he was kind enough to release his level 3 method for obtaining pouches.
Hmm.
He had posted, I'm like, this is interesting. So I reached out and he sent me two simple pictures. And from that, I went and got the pouches myself. Of course, a couple of days later, he released his method to the community. But he had done that on a hardcore Iron Man, which, if you view his video, it's out there. Once you know the method, it's really safe. But learning it, not really being in tune with what he was doing, I died a few times, and I was thankful I was on a normal account.
Hmm. So yeah, I will
But
definitely
yeah,
link his methods in the I'll link his channel in the description as well. Pretty much anybody we talk about, if we go on and on about them, I'll probably try and link them in the description so people can kind of get a better idea and more
oh
backstory on
sure.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, I learned a lot from those three. In fact, Keyboard just released his Zero XP Contact because Jagex changed the entire mechanics of that quest when they released Beneath Cursed Sands.
I actually did not. I watched that video, but I didn't know there was a huge difference.
It,
Was it the difference in the spawning minions?
it was. So if you go down into the layer and I believe this is shorthand. If you're within 12 tiles, 16 tiles of the NPC, you now are on a time limit before other aggressive NPCs can spawn. Before, it was very easy to set up the method. You'd run in, you get your hit, you tick eat, you run out, it would get stuck in that corner. But now you have to not only account for luring that NPC, but you have to make sure that you're not close enough within a certain time limit to spawn aggressive NPCs because they will spawn and instantly kill you.
Yeah, it's. I remember watching the video and thinking like I can. It's amazing how people come up with this kind of stuff. How people are constantly pushing the limits.
Yeah, he is. Keyboard is definitely one of the people that he experiments and he's very successful with it.
I also know that Chad, who you mentioned before, also does YouTube as well. Has some other pretty really nice guides out there for level threes on obtaining items that we normally could not. So I will also link his channel below. And in saying that, I'm going to roll right into my next question then for you. Between ice gloves, pouches, doing the feud. There's a variety of different things, quests, items that are very difficult for level threes to obtain. In your opinion, what is one of the most challenging and that you believe very few players have completed aside from the RNG grinds, like your Barbasalt pet or your Olm pet?
Going through the methods, I wouldn't say anything is difficult. If you wanted to do the ice gloves properly, especially on a Iron Man, it gets a little tedious because you have to use your zero experience um, venom method, which is when the Ice Queen spawns, you have to hit a zero, which now that I talk, that's probably patched, but ice gloves are probably the most difficult things to obtain for an Iron Man, especially if you don't have an alt or someone guiding you on what to do. A lot of these grinds that I've done that I've been helped with getting done, I view more along the lines of gaining experience. Everything in this game is based on time. So as long as you keep trying and moving forward with any method, you're going to get it done. As far as difficulty, I'm going to revert back to contact because that new the new spawning method. That is the only thing right now I view as difficult, and I've attempted the quest quite a few times and keep failing. So
Mhm.
gaining items, as long as you're willing to put in 5 to 20 hours on certain grinds, you're going to get that. But contact requires a little bit more knowledge of the in-game tick system so that you can obtain that. Well, complete the quest and get the cares.
Okay,
And
awesome.
I just found out last night too, if you complete contact and get a little bit through beneath cursed sands, there's a new 3 tick 4 granite spot that opens up that's easier than the current methods out in the quarry.
Wow,
So now
that's wild.
yeah, I found out your third rock you don't have to do a tick action for. You can mine your second and immediately click the third and it's successful.
So is that kind of similar to
So,
how the two tick granite, two tick sandstone method works?
I've never attempted that and I learned about that as well. But I'm a little bit more familiar with 3T 4G and
Hmm.
4T 3G.
Okay. I only mentioned the sandstone mining version because I know a lot of irons out there will do that for experience while also gathering sandstone themselves. So I know it's a method
Yeah,
I've learned myself.
it's definitely at least the sandstone I'm aware of. When I was doing my mining grind, I was out in the core and I saw irons constantly running back and forth. That
So
99 crafting guide, it's set in stone, isn't it?
pretty much as long as as long as you can get lunars, it's pretty much pretty chill completely. So for the limited builds out there, without lunars, it becomes a little bit more tedious running to a furnace back and forth for 20, 30 hours.
Yeah, well, they opened up Edgeville's always there, I suppose.
Yeah, that's where I go on my Ironman whenever I create new ones, when the group Ironman craze was happening, and whenever I get the itch to make a hardcore and I'm just like, yeah, I won't die this time, and then 50 to 100 hours in I'm dead.
I didn't even make it that far in the last hardcore I made, so kudos to you.
I was gonna say
I've
after
made
so
them
many
all.
deaths, it's hard to like not pay more attention to the small things that are gonna kill you, like Winter Todd, early game questing, getting one tapped by different quests. My most embarrassing death for sure is dying on a hardcore to the bats in the Goblin Cave during Dwarf Cannon.
That's certainly an experience. Yeah, I had my hardcore I had made, I had died to Master Farmer, which isn't uncommon, but I was on autopilot. My kid started crying, and I looked away for 1 second. There I was in Lumbridge. I was like, oh, that's the end of that.
So that's actually a pretty decent segue into do you think that it's bad when I say that instead of just organically going to the next question, or do you think it's like makes sense to segue that way? That's a curious quick
Um,
question, a quick quip for you.
Talking about a segue.
Yeah, not like the riding things, but like a segue to the next question.
Oh no, that helps me mentally move on, say that you're ready, so that I can prepare for the next thing you want to ask.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna keep that in the video too, just so like, people know that like I'm not trying to cheat questions or trying to like cut things out. I'm gonna try and keep these as unedited, as raw as possible, so people can hear even like my mistakes or like the times I talk over
Uh,
you or vice versa, anything of that sort.
uh,
Just due to the fact that I feel like a lot of people try and brush their content up so much it becomes almost an unrealistic version of what you're gonna hear in real life.
no, fine. That helps me identify my mistakes as well. Haven't done public speaking since college.
Okay, awesome. So leading into the next thing, you had mentioned before in the beginning, and then just recently, how you have a family. So how do you tend to balance your time between your family and your hobbies, of course, which in this case includes lots of RuneScape. I know for many people that they also have other hobbies, but for this specific instance, between your gains and your family life, because of course, um, family is extremely an important thing for many people.
Of course. So I do work full time as well. So mainly during the weekdays, the traditional Monday through Friday, I am at work for X amount of hours, and I do get home and my kid is awake, my wife is there, and that's the family time. Now, because the kid is only 18 months old, he's still, he's not like gamers staying up until two in the morning and waking up at 10. So he still goes to bed early.
Hmm.
So that bedtime is kind of so that's the circadian rhythm. Like, all right, son's in bed. Let's wrap things up around the house, get things ready, and once the family's settled away, that's when you get to sit down and have your personal time. And my personal time at night, especially during the weekdays, is RuneScape. So it's a delicate balance, but I would say when most people have children, they figure out the groove of what the child needs, what your spouse needs, and then you conform to that so that you're not prioritizing a 20-year-old video game over something that's going to last hopefully a little bit longer.
That's the idea when you make a family. You don't have to be something that you see through the end until your inevitable end.
Of course, you plan for that unless you don't plan, but then you prioritize. It's all about understanding the limits of what you can do. I won't say that I don't pop on mobile when we're sitting around for family time, but I'd say that's few and far between.
How do you feel about mobile in general? Going from that.
I would like to think of a more active player, so if I'm on mobile, there are only two skills I really like to do, and they're completely conflicting. You have fishing and you have agility. Fishing is fast enough that you fill up your inventory, so it's a little bit more interactive, whereas I would not be going on mobile just to do redwoods. I don't I did redwoods for those 2 years of COVID, and every time I think about going back there and just sitting around, I don't get very excited about that. So my two grinds for mobile would just be fishing and agility. So I do enjoy mobile. Um, it allows you to be wherever you want. If you have a second, pop down, do a farm run. But I I don't really play it as much anymore. Mobile's for if like family time or the weekend is really slow, I'll just check and see. But I've never really, if I'm not at my computer, I'm not really playing mobile.
Okay. And then going a little bit back to your family time and your work life balance, including gaming and all that kind of stuff. What are your normal hours you think you play per week?
Oof. Probably closer to 30. I get about 4 or 5 hours a night on the weekdays. I go to bed at the same time on the weekends as well. So everything's a little bit scripted as far as how much time I play during that nighttime. And that's because of that slotted time that I know is, I have A, B, and C, and I want to do X, Y, and Z. I do try and prioritize some things during those hours so that I don't feel like I'm wasting it.
Yeah, of course. You got to get, whether it be cleaning around the house done, yard work done, grocery shopping done, whatever it may be. Of course, there are extremely important things that, you need not only to live, but to keep like your family alive and all that kind of stuff. So it's good to it's good to have like that allotted time for that kind of stuff. I know that I can tend to struggle with that due to like the chaotic nature of my life. Some nights I get home at, I don't know, 5. Some nights I get home at like 9, depending on what I'm doing for the day. So I respect the scripted lifestyle in which mine was more of in that sense.
I've had those moments too. And in fact, today I'm in a workshop because I'm currently transitioning jobs, and one of the presenters put it in perspective. It's like when your spouse asks you when you're going to be home and you say, I don't know, I don't particularly enjoy that feeling anymore. So you can call me a boomer or oldie, but I do enjoy having that very stable time during my day because that allows me to adjust everything else within the day as well.
Absolutely. And I think that like sorry, one of the big things for me as well is the flexibility in my schedule. So while I usually have to be at my job around 9 or before, if I really want to, I can move my day around coming in late if I've got things going on, or I can come in early and get off early to get those things going on. So it's a semi-stable in the sense that I work 8 hours and I get to choose what those 8 hours are. But I always try and go from I usually try and have my set time in the morning and the PM to leave. That way I can try and mimic in this sense you for that stability. So I know like okay, I get off at this time. Traffic's gonna be like this. You know, what am I gonna make when I get home? Am I gonna get something on the way home? Very simple things that like it's hard to describe, but it's still like, you know, a mental checklist of everything that needs to get done that day. Whether it be small as in like what you're gonna eat that day or big as in like, you know, I've gotta get groceries for the rest of the week today.
Of course, it is nice that you do have that flexibility with the schedule as well. It is important, and we're all working men here, that the people you do work for balance your life as well instead of keeping it stringent. So I'm glad you were able to luck out with that and have that flexibility.
Yeah, it's been fantastic with my new position at my job. And the old position was extremely tight. Like it was like, you know, this hour to this hour, 5 days a week, and I knew my schedule a month ahead of time because I would also fill in for my boss sometimes. So I needed to have that flexibility as well. But now having the Monday through Friday, like most of my other like people, friends, and all kind of stuff. So now I can like have that time on the weekends to spend with my partner or with my, you know, hobbies, whether it be me playing RuneScape or doing music or whatever it may be.
And it's nice to have the ability to go out and still do what you enjoy, especially or even with having that job.
And so I guess going a little bit back to what we talked about in the beginning there. So in the beginning, we introduced you as Yakety, and you had mentioned you don't have that RSN anymore. Would you mind talking about what led you to lose that RSN or the account in general?
Yeah, I don't mind mentioning that. During the COVID era and near the end of the account's lifespan, I was very bored with the account. I was very bored and very not rich. I had a lot of excess GP, so I started to offload it to a gambling site and going back and forth, putting GP on that account, taking it off, transferring it back onto my own account. It was very cyclical. You go to bed at night, you're staking 500 mil, and you just walk away and go to bed. You wake up, oh, I won, cool. Oh, I lost, shoot. So there was a lot of transfers in and out of those accounts that not sure why, because if you're gonna gamble, just keep it on one, keep it there, and I guess lose it, which yeah, are always losses. So that account ended up being banned for real world, excuse me, real world trade because what I ended up doing was because of all that boredom and excess GP, I took the gold off of that site, put it back on my account, and sold it. It wasn't just out of, it was boredom, right? But this was about the time that my son was born, and the amount of gold that I had accumulated looked very enticing because you have a quantifiable number. You can look at any of these sites. They're obviously going to tell you what they're going to sell it for, what they're going to buy it for. And you look at what you have and you plug it into the calculator, like, I can take this and do something with it. So while I did gamble a lot, what it did end up marking my account for a ban was that real world trading.
And I think that a lot of people have a mild misconception of people who real world trade. I know everybody jokes about the whole Venezuelan thing and how they like, the RS economy is more stable than the Venezuelan economy itself. Um, but of course, in a sense, like you had said, you had a child being born, and you know the pixels that you carried on your account equated more to a real life stature, and I don't think anybody could blame you for that.
No, I'm not trying to justify the real world trade. I'm just laying out the reasons of why it happened. It is still a bannable offense. I broke the rules and I lost, a top 50 EHP level 3 skiller that I had spent 3 years on. So that's what you pay for when you take those actions. So it
Exactly.
happened. It happened.
Exactly, and I don't mean to try and justify it. I just mean that everybody's got their reasons, and the price was paid. Um, I'm sure you don't do it anymore, so it's lesson has been learned. New account created. Put the time into it. Not quite back to where you were on the old Yakety, but you have gotten to the point where you're like, well, I'm not bored anymore. And, at least I hope so that you're not bored anymore. That you're enjoying what you're doing on a day to day basis.
Yeah, that's why I appreciate all the people I've met within this community that have shown me something new to do. I can choose to be bored in this game, or I can go and do something new. There are still plenty of things that I need to complete before I can just say like, all right, time to learn Chambers of Xeric and do a 1+1 so I can either make some money or get some collection slots. So there is still plenty of content left on this account to finish.
So moving into those collection slots that we've mentioned time and time again for you, what is your theoretical goal for collection logging, and what is your current like log looking like?
Current log is around 320 slots. I haven't necessarily done a lot of clues. I'm maybe halfway done with easies, but I haven't even hit that 500 mark for the spade. And
Hmm.
you see people pushing out like 6,500 easy clues just so they can finish the log. So I'd say as far as the clue scrolls go, I'm very new to it. I need to sit down and grind out so I can get the collection log slots. But there are certain things like the Castle Wars grind that is a 85-hour altscape adventure where you just log on to two, three, or four accounts depending on how active you want to be, and you just sit there. So the sitting thing is why I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, it's one of those
But
things I
there,
think a lot of people try and do in the time when like they're at work, and a lot of people don't have jobs where they can escape at work. But I know like from the people I know, it's either like either content creators who have multiple accounts going and that can have like that free time on another account to do something, or the other sense of being at a job, not being able to play the game, but being able to use that the new AFK timer being 25 minutes if you use the RuneLight plugin to just sit in that lobby for 20 minutes, literally doing nothing.
yep, I noticed that too. I have mine set to 25, although I've never made it that far. The most I've used that plugin is when I forget to log out and see that I had disconnected the next day.
I think one thing that
But
stresses me out about seeing that screen, if I forget to like quote unquote log out in the morning, is I'm always like, I know I logged out, like say like in the Wintertide lobby, or I logged out in the Amethyst mine or Redwood trees, whatever I was doing, whether it was AFK or active goal reaching. I still need to log in and verify I didn't die and lose everything.
yeah, it's nerve-wracking, especially I think the old mechanics of UIM. I don't know the full details of what they changed for all the accounts, but I wouldn't be a fan logging in and losing my entire bank.
Yeah, as far as I know, if I die at least my untradables will stand the ground until I log back in. As for the tradables, I'm still unaware of how that all works. I know if I hop worlds, they'll still show up, and the timer like stays the same. Like it doesn't like. So I guess at the same, I guess yeah. If I log back into to a different world and the timer doesn't change, then theoretically, if I die and log after 5 minutes, everything should still be on the ground.
Yeah, I suppose it's not necessarily something you'd want to test right now, though.
Yeah, I'm good on that. I have a lot of my Guardians of the Rift stuff stored in my death storage, so I've been kind of trying to play it safe until the update where if the poll passes, where the pouches get added to that mini game, where I can get the colossal pouch because I've already had the needle. So getting the colossal pouch would probably make me want to go back to that mini game and get the outfit. But right now, with just a medium pouch, it's just the mini game is extremely tedious.
I understand that. I got the needle very early, so I was fortunate that I don't know if I was the first to get the colossal pouch, but keyboard definitely gave me the keys to get it as quickly as possible on a level 3 account.
Hmm.
So I'll say this, playing Guardians of the Rift with one pouch that holds 40 essence makes it a much more pleasant grind than clicking all over your screen.
I can only imagine, and I'm hoping that if they do that for me, I will get to that point that you're at because I do not have the confidence in my own mechanics to do those cannon stall mechanics for the leeches and all that kind of stuff. So
It definitely takes some getting used to. If you don't want to do it on your account, Mayfield, the UIM Mayfield, it's definitely a good idea to just practice on maybe even a fresh account that has nothing on it. The method itself, it can be done with one alt, but I was lucky that I have about 5 or 6 accounts just sitting, waiting and crying for me to log on to them, and I utilized one of them for the grind. So I had my main account parked up and helping the level 3 kill the NPCs if I didn't hit, and then I off on the side screen I had my other alt dragging all the other NPCs away so I didn't gain that experience.
yeah, having the plethora of alts sitting around waiting for you to log in is definitely a known feeling. By myself, I have to keep track of everything. I actually create a spreadsheet with all my accounts and all that kind of stuff. So I keep that in a secure location. So I, if I ever need to log into one of them, I do. So I'll log in occasionally to make sure they're not banned or no one logged into them and cleaned them or anything of that nature.
Yeah, it's a lot of accounts to keep track of. I actually use the RuneLight plugin profile so I can just double click and pull up that username. While it's probably not the best security practice, when you play however many accounts, you get a little tired of typing.
I actually didn't know there was a plugin like that. I probably won't use it myself. I'm actually interested in looking into the Jagex launcher 'cause I know they have profiles on that as well. What are your opinions on the launcher? Have you tried it out or have you kind of stayed away from it so far?
You know, I had Steam, I downloaded it. I got, however, the 12 or 20 achievements, and this was before they started integrating with RuneLight features,
Hmm.
so maybe about a year ago. So, not a fan of what the RuneLight client was. If you want to play the RuneLight client before they added everything, it's just, log on your phone and see how few capabilities you have. But no, I have hopes for it. I know Jagex is trying to push this client not only for account security, but maybe even possible bot busting.
Absolutely. And do you think having their own launcher for games like the Steam Store, Epic Games, Origin, do you think having the or and especially like Blizzard because Blizzard has their own launcher for all their games? Do you think having a JX launcher will help eliminate the bots that ravage our community on a day-to-day basis? I know we see various different types doing various different things. Your Cannonball, your Amethyst, your Green Dragon.
I assume it's going to be closed source software that proprietary code that they build themselves and keep to themselves. So that if you look at your your iPhone and you compare it to the Android, just the level of security between the two of them, I view it like that, where I have RuneLight open right now. That's that open source software. I can log into the file system. I can manipulate files if I so choose. So the hope with the Jagex launcher, and most likely in a couple of years' time, then making it a requirement to log into to even play, they'll have that extra security not only for the accounts with logging in, but have almost like a hash system, making sure that any plugins being utilized are native to that client.
Yeah,
There was, what was it, 6 months ago? A lot of people that were using these third-party clients, a lot of them got their 2 week bans. So there's a lot of crackdown on these extra plugins that aren't necessarily being provided by RuneLight, and there's a couple others, but RuneLight, of course, is the biggest because one, it's free, but it has a lot of open source plugins that do get approved and are put into that hub.
I think it really is pleasing to know that Jagex is open to expanding the scope of what other people can help do with their game while not like limiting people. I know that I won't name any of the other clients because I don't want anybody to seek them out and get banned for using them. But I have some other clients where the Neverlog came from. But now, of course, it's limited to 25 minutes, which I think is totally fine. I think that a logout timer 5 minutes definitely should have been expanded a while ago. But of course, we don't know. I don't know Jagex code, so I don't know how hard that would have been for them to do, like on the client side, where you could change it just in your settings. Same with I think
But
the other big one that people talk about is a PVM based plugin where creatures die, they disappear before their animation is over, so you can't click through them or you can't click the dead body even after they die. So I know that was a big one for like Inferno speedrunners and like people doing PVM on a regular basis. Is they were like, I don't like these dead clicks that hit the dead bodies of something I've already gotten rid of.
no, I agree. In fact, the latter plugin you mentioned, I didn't even start utilizing until they released those Quest speedrunning worlds, because not only is it more efficient with, I guess, the NPC dying, it's a great indicator of when it's actually dead and you need to take your next action. I don't know if you've attempted the speedrunning or not, but with that plugin enabled, you see Elvarg die. You don't have to wait for the head animation to teleport to Falador, and that saves you about 20-25 seconds on the entire speedrun.
I actually did not know that, and I have not done it yet. I will be
Uh,
doing quest speedruns because of the graceful recolor. So I'll be waiting until there's enough points released where you can do the level 3 recolor and get that new graceful. 'Cause I think it looks incredible.
yeah, they really teased you. They released five quests and didn't let you be able to buy everything. So I'm in the same boat. I finished all five of the quests on platinum, and I'm just waiting for the next round so I can afford that tier three.
The tier 3 armor mixed with the graceful, it just looks good. And I think it'll look great with um the future skill capes I'm going to be getting, and especially with the agility cape I'm already wearing. So I think it'll just be a good fit for me.
Yeah, those are the kind of things that I do enjoy them releasing. Although the last week, I'm not going to harp on it, but they did make the quest a little bit easier to obtain the platinum trophies for.
Mhm.
So of course they'll cater to some aspect of the people playing, but the exclusivity, and of course this is another example of items. If you want them, you'll go out and get them.
Yes, absolutely, and I tend to agree with some of the players who have talked about there's too many worlds for it with how many people are doing it currently. Um, I guess my opinion about it is I think they're assuming that as more quests get added, the amount of players using the quest speedrun worlds will increase.
I think so too. The problem with the speedrunning worlds right now is certain quests are not instanced. So things like Dragon Slayer, if you run through the maze, and this happened to me a couple times, there could be a player already killing the correct ghost or skeleton, and now you have about an 80-second respawn time before you can even continue the quest.
Hmm.
But on Demon Slayer, I noticed this because one of the methods is when you need to collect 25 bones, you hop worlds. Well, for whatever reason, they allowed players to have their own instances of those bones, so everyone was able to pick them up. So no one was competing with each other for bones, but everyone was competing against each other during Dragon Slayer to get through the maze. So there's these onesie twosies during the speed runs. So it was difficult, and you had to definitely plan when you were going to do the speed run. If you saw someone else in the Champions Guild, you just either went back to what you were doing on the main game or you logged off for about a minute and let them get ahead of you.
That's wild that they had gotten some of the items to work as an instance base, and then other things like you said, the ghosts or the skeletons or zombies, whatever you're killing in Melzar's maze, is suddenly not exclusive to you, and everybody can see it. So you're losing time out of your own hand.
Yeah, I got, I'll say crashed just for simplicity. A guy had crashed me, and I wasn't so mad about the crashing. I understood it. What made me mad during that interaction is he went the wrong way. He
He
killed
went
the
he went to the
NPC.
wrong one.
He went the wrong way. He went through the wrong door, and I see him circling around the floor to get to the correct ladder. I'm like, man, you could have just gone through one door. But in retrospect, you look back at that and you laugh. But speed running was not. It was fun, but you're trying to make time, and when you don't make time, you're like, crap, I just wasted 15 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, definitely, I encourage people to try speed running. It's new, it's fresh, and nothing else in this game is necessarily going to change for level threes. I guess whenever they release Poison Dynamite.
It's funny you
So
mentioned that because I usually do rooftops while I do these casts because it's something I don't have to focus too hard on. But when I was on the ground, the crier something with poison dynamite. So that's a really good lead into one of my last questions for you. Second to last question. Do you think poison dynamite will give level threes access to quests usually uncompletable before, or give access to nice like bossing methods if they want to try and go for like a bossing pet? Like the Chaos Alley is the one that I think of because it's probably the easiest one for level three to get. I know some level threes already have it.
I'm gonna say no on Quest because any well, okay. I'll back up real fast. Any quest for a normal account, because normal accounts can buy those rings of recoils. I can buy all the Guthix rests and purple sweets I want. So I think that everything that was going to be obtainable for a normal account is already out there. Irons, I'm very curious to see what kind of content you guys push out with what you're trying to do for Quest, because I know the feud is definitely one of those quintessential. It's one of those almost necessities, but you poor guys are stuck selling to whoever will buy them from you.
Yeah, right now it's the
So
rogues. It's the rogues in a 40 each, and Alley makes it 200 each. So that's a 5 times increase for pricing.
they're considerably better for all the effort that you have to do for that 99 rune crafting grind.
Mm-hmm.
So for yeah, for normal accounts, nothing's going to change. We still had cannon methods. We have rings of recoil. If you wanted to sacrifice a little bit of experience, you would just go and buy stuff off the GE, Iron Dagger, P++.
Mm-hmm.
But the irons are definitely going to benefit during the quest or for the quest with the Poison Dynamite release. But bossing, yeah, they released today that Poison Dynamite is going to start acting like a sticky bomb, or they're at least attempting to work the code so that you can attach it to the NPC.
Oh, that's what I had hoped
So
for.
It'll be nice. I just hope I'm not kamikazing myself running toward Arachnus and getting stuck in its web. Very real possibilities. I'll say this: Chaos Elemental is a very real possibility. I was graced with knowledge this afternoon that it might be 100% not only possible, but not a complete pain in the ass.
I know right now it's already possible with some methods. I've seen a level 3 who has one. I just don't know if
There,
they were patched post him having it, or
they
if
unfortunately were.
okay.
There's still one method, and that's the cannon method. But you run the risk of, if you don't run a few ults, you're gonna accidentally hit one of the wolves out there in level 50 wilderness. So the cannon method is still viable, although it's not, I wouldn't say practical. But by all means, I am always happy to be proven wrong. That is what I want people in this game to do, is to go out and do these great things and be like, well, Yak said I couldn't do it, so I'm going to go and do it. So please, go out, get Chaos Elemental without dynamite, and validate my challenge.
this is
But
this is your official challenge.
this is the challenge. Go spend however long you want, cannoning Chaos Elemental, and please come back. But what else was it? Yeah, there is a player, before Poison Dynamite was even argued about. We had our zero experience methods where you could spawn hit NPCs. It was very nice for the Iron Man accounts because you could do a druidic ritual. You didn't have to worry about gaining experience.
Hmm.
There were there were different methods, and you could do it with melee. You could do it with ranged. And the previous person who had gotten Chaos Elemental, actually, I think there's two. They were using range, zero experience range methods to hit Chaos Ellie and then, um, not recoil, but venge it down.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, Jagex took that away from us, and that's why we're all sitting with bated breath for hopefully a solution with poison dynamite.
Jaggeth taketh away, and then Jaggeth giveth a nugget to us.
Well, ironically, I say all gifts from the devil are poison, and it is a long climb until poison dynamite's viable. So
And that's
hopefully
the hard
within,
part.
it is, because there used to be, I think, the goblin bow. There used to be a zero experience bow that you could utilize,
Yeah, it was the Curse
and
Goblin bow, I believe.
yeah, I believe that gave you kill credit, but someone ruined the fun for others, and now we're always searching for a new solution. I would just appreciate if Jagex realized their game is 20 years old and we should all be allowed to have fun. So just, give me the sword, give me the crossbow, set your stuff to zero experience, because the people that want to do that are going to be happy and they're going to do it, and the people that are mad about it were never going to attempt these things in the first place.
I think they've mulled around the idea of being able to set yourself to doing no experience. I just don't
But
know how much engine change or engine work that would even take.
I think that's the crux of it, right? You change the engine so much, you almost have to upgrade it, and then you have RS2 all over again, or RS going into RS3 HD. So it's a very primitive software, and they're doing the best they can with it. But obviously, if I want all my bells and whistles, the entire game's going to have to change, or I just switch over to RS3.
And who wants to do that permanently, you know?
No, I started with RuneScape Classic actually, and then played primarily old school, and that's the game I enjoy.
And that leads us into the final question. The future of RuneScape. So we've talked about it they've talked about how old the game is this version of the game itself is already getting. I remember when Old School released 2013 when I was in high school still. Um, as of next year, Old School will be 10 years old. Where do you see the longevity of Old School and the longevity of yourself playing Old School in the next 10 years? I know that seems like a long time out, but I don't think any of us thought that this game with a 70,000, 50 to 70,000 concurrent player base would still be here 10 years later.
Yeah, it certainly lasts a long time from players leaving because of RS3 to coming back because of Old School and then complaining that Old School was boring. So then they started updating the game. And you look at the news posts, you look at the team that they're hiring. I think all these new employees working at Jagex are going to provide new ideas and different things. And I think new content, although it's going to come out very slowly, new content will always be there. Because unfortunately, I think it's been 2 months since Tombs of Amasket has released, and already I think the zeitgeist is people are looking at doing different stuff in the game. So you have this amazing content that comes out. I mean, when Guardians of the Rift came out, everyone was grinding it, but you have X amount of time before the drop off and people start looking for something new. So I would hope that if Jagex can keep a nice timeline of new content, new methods to do things, or even new mini games, this game can last quite a while because it does have a very strong fan base. You do have people who have played since 2013, the people who started off on this game in 2001, 2002. So we're no longer in the nostalgia factor. We're in the realm of people legitimately enjoy this game and the fun that it can provide. So I would say that Old School can last as long as they're willing to push out new ideas and keep things fresh, or at least push ideas out in a meaningful amount of time before people totally lose interest.
I know
Do I
that's
foresee him?
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go first.
I was just gonna say, do I see myself playing in 10 years? No, probably not. I think that life's gonna change in that time, and maybe even video games and this downtime as a whole is gonna drop off massively. But while I'm still interested in the game and while I still have these opportunities, I'm more than happy to log in and play the game and talk to the people in the game. It's I'm still enjoying it, so I'll keep playing it.
So I know I said that was my last question, but I thought of one as you were talking. So my real last question, for sure this time, because we're almost at an hour, and I want to try and keep these around that hour or less mark, so people don't fall off. Because viewer retention rate is hard in these days. If you don't have a cool TikTok dance in the first 10 seconds, it's hard to keep them engaged. Um, so the finale question is: if there is, if there was one piece of content, whether it was from RS3, another game, your own design, if you could add anything to Old School RuneScape today or on the next update cycle, what would you want to add?
If I'm being honest, I would say more cosmetics. I think RuneScape 3 has it right that you can be anything that you want to be in this game, where currently you're limited to the extra features that you can buy from shops or the non-tradable items like your smithing outfits. But if you log into RuneScape 3, you see werewolves running around, people, all kinds of colors. Now it goes totally against the old school vibe, but the amount of customization and character creation that the other version of this game has given its players, it's refreshing because no one's truly going to look the same.
So
So
insane. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, the ability to really stand out as a character, to put on something that is unique and different and might even make someone smile based of all the goofy stuff you've done. The cursed banana is a good example of what people were able to do with a complete joke of an item and actually get some laughs from others about it.
Okay. Okay. In saying that, would you like to see not a microtransaction store, but like a Solomon's general store style override system where you can wear whatever you want while still wearing, for like the mains, your Torva, Infernal Cape, all that kind of stuff, but you would just look different.
I think it's possible right now. In fact, I test my little fashionscape ideas using more RuneLite plugins. This amazing open source technology. Someone has a plugin that you can wear whatever you want. Now, granted, it's client side, so no one else in the game sees it, but you can do all your own customization. But I definitely don't mind the crazy ideas that people could come up with. There was a Solomon type store that wasn't. See, now this is the tricky part because I don't like the microtransactions. I really enjoy RuneScape because I can log on and I don't have to worry about squeal the wheel and all the other promotional stuff you see through a lot of games these days.
Hmm.
But a Solomon type store where you can earn perks through just playing the game, it it adds a free incentive to play the game for something that is only going to cost Jagex the time to implement. The idea of a cosmetic costing $5 when 10,000 other people have it and they all paid $5, you just upload the same piece of software. It doesn't make sense. So it's a very fine line between adding these buyables through an in-game shop, but not stripping players of actual real-world money. So just trying to convert all that into what old school RuneScape is. It's just you log on, you have your grind. You don't have to worry about efficiently spinning a wheel and getting lamps for extra experience. But
I,
that's my mild tangent. It doesn't make any sense, doesn't even fit with old school, but I do like the customizations.
no, absolutely. And I don't think that everything has to fit the old school feel. I'm sure we have plenty of things in this game that don't fit the old school feel. I know people have said there are bosses like a lot of people had been against Nex when Nex was announced, or even polled saying that wasn't an old school boss. And now, if you watch videos on people who talk about Nex nowadays, they're like, "Well, Nex is so boring." And these are some of the people who have said they wanted Nex because they wanted either Torva, Virtus, or whatever I remember the other armor they talked about. Um, but yeah, so in the sense that you can't please everyone, I think the fact that, you unapologetically think that this would be fun because not only does it not affect people in a financial sense, it's something that like could make people smile on any given day if you saw like a silly vampire or a silly werewolf running around on Halloween. Like, but they were still like, PVMing against, it would be awesome to see like a werewolf PVMing against Zuck. I think that'd be hilarious in a speed run or hilarious in somebody's first Infernal game.
I think so too. And the more we talk about it, the more I realize that maybe customizations shouldn't be on PvP worlds where people don't know exactly what the other is using, but those are the nuances that I'm sure Jagex can figure out themselves.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
it's all a game at the end of the day. You can log on, you can log off, you can do whatever you want. And there's no sense in restricting what the game can become because with tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands accounts, depending on bots, how many bots you want to say. Everyone is logged on for a different experience, whether it's normal account, Iron Man, Ultimate Iron Man, or even playing with your friends through the group stuff. We're so far along in this game that it's no longer restricted to what was originally released. it can be whatever it wants to be, and that's going to be based on what the players want.
And I like what you said before about like the nostalgia factor has like 10 years down the road, the 2013 nostalgia factor is gone. It's at this point OSRS is a virtually brand new game from the 2017 backup. Of course, we see all the staple items. You know, you still got Barrows, you still got KQ, you still got KBD, but there's so much content in this game that if you wanted to play this game forever, there's always something to do. It just has to be something you enjoy, and whatever makes the game enjoyable for people. Um, I don't think Jagex should limit themselves. Aside from, like we said, adding microtransactions, because of course that would make it like many other MMOs. And as most people who play this game know, this game is one of the most unique MMOs out there. Whether it be the combat style, how you skill, high scores for skilling gains, Iron Man modes, any plethora of reasons. But there are many reasons to love the game we play every day, and I know people aren't going to be happy about every update, whether it be PvP updates, PvM updates, skilling updates. You're not going to please everybody. Um, at the end of the day,
And
enjoy the time you have.
of course, it all boils down to the individual and just what you want from this game. And I would say that right now, even waiting for Poison Dynamite, I'm still getting the most from this game, and I'm having fun.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes when I get home, I cannot wait to log in and like get stuff done. It's you know, it would depends on what kind of goals you set, depends on who you are, like you said, as an individual person. It's so unique for everybody, and I think that's what makes it extremely special.
I agree. And that's why I think this game is going to last for far longer than I think it's actually going to last because you have an active community, the new ideas, and you never really finish. You don't beat this game. You just keep going, and then when you're not having fun, you take a break, but everyone comes back eventually.
Exactly. And like I know people have said like how long the collection log will realistically take to finish with the third age and gilded items on there. It's virtually impossible to do. 200 mil all plus collection log done. Um, it's a virtually impossible goal. But you have guys like Hey Jace trying to break that barrier, get as much of the third age and gilded log done as he can, doing tens of thousands of hard clues. I'm sure when Andrew Gower and his brother is Paul, right? Paul Gower?
Andrew, Paul.
Sounds right.
You
I'm
know,
I'm
I was 10 years old when they were at the helm. I don't imagine I would even remember. So,
in the sense I don't imagine this is the state they thought their game would be when they first created it. And I think that's an incredible thing, knowing that where we're at now is just an amazing place to be. And I think we take a lot of the polling system for granted. I think because like name another game that listens to its player base like that. Whether it's a good thing or a
yeah,
bad thing in some sense, of course, there's going to be negatives to it. But
I'm sure we'll see tomorrow with the new release of the poll results where
I'm excited.
well, if the pouches pass, it opens up the opportunity for people to try something new. If it doesn't, well, I guess it's not necessarily anything people have lost because the method's still out there. But yeah, people voting, and I've noticed over the 4 or 5 years I played old school, and as a Iron Man yourself, it's definitely more geared toward you. The game becomes easier in a sense. Every time there's an update over time, it's more catered to make the game make the game better. Easier is could be a harsh word, but it streamlines the user experience so that it's not just awful logging in. Like, well, the death mechanics. It used to be you died. You had 1 minute to get back to your stuff. They changed that. Why? Because people didn't want to lose millions of gold back then. That's a lot, and not enjoy the game. So the opportunity for pouches to be presented to these accounts that didn't previously have access to them. Well, you now get to experience, I would say, the full potential of Guardians of the Rift minus your Catalyst runes, but you get to do the extra rune crafting training. You get to try and do efficient methods
Hmm.
that were previously locked to main accounts.
Yeah, exactly.
So
There's
the
always something new coming out that will help out, whether it be limited accounts or just iron accounts or anything of that nature.
Yep. So all these updates, they will make the game more fun. They will make it more accessible. So I concede on that notion. I don't like to put on my high horse pants and say, well, I did it when it was a challenge, but I can at least tell myself that I did it and I can move on and then other people can have fun.
That's what we're
Just
all here to
like
do. Play a game, have fun.
yeah, just like Dragon Slayer being increased from 18 minutes to 19 minutes for the platinum, I can still tell myself I did it below 18, so it doesn't matter that much to me.
Hmm. Well, I think all that being said, I think that's where we'll wrap it up for this time. One thing I haven't mentioned
Mhm.
before on any of these casts is I think that over time, I would like to have people return after a certain amount of time, whether it be 6 months, a year, whatever their goals may be, um, to see how they've progressed. Ask them different questions, kind of get a new perspective from them in the future. So, um, that being said, I hope to see you in the future again at some point. Um, of course, I
Sure.
highly appreciate you coming on and talking with me for the last hour or so.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was very nice to get on and talk to not only talk to you, but talk to the community as well.
Exactly. And while you know, this may not be the same level of other of the big OSRS podcast or like cast style things or interview style videos, I still think it's fun to try and give the people who don't make content that small little section of the internet for themselves to say, hey, like I may not make videos, but I have friends on the community and friends who would like people who would like to know what I'm up to. So I really appreciate you coming on, you talking about of course the bad, but also the amazing things that you're working towards, and how you can have a very good balance in your life with a family and also enjoying your hobbies in the same breath.
Yeah. Um, Again, I appreciate coming on and yeah, explaining who I am because yeah, you can't have the good without the bad, and thankfully there's more good than bad. So hopefully next time I'm on the podcast, I have something more to show and talk about.
Next time, you're gonna have the penance queen or the omelet pet. I'm calling it right now.
That's what it's going to be. Maybe Chaos Elemental, a couple of jars in my POH. The sky's the limit coming up soon.
You're gonna be the first level 3 with corp pet. That's what's gonna be.
Not the first level 3 with KC, but maybe the first with the pet.
Yeah, and I've seen that video with the guy who does the level 3 KC in the corp. That's mechanics are crazy. I'm sure we'll get into that again when we talk again. But man, game mechanics are crazy in this game.
Of course.
You
Yeah,
have a
there.
Go
I
ahead.
I I think I like to think I'm a grinder, but there are some very crazy people out there, and I respect them all.
Absolutely. You have a
Yeah,
wonderful evening. I know we're doing this a little late tonight, so you have a great night. Hope you get some good rest and have a good day at work tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy your gains until we talk again. Whether that be, we'll talk in game, of course, but whenever we talk again here on the channel.
of course. Thank you for the opportunity, and have yourself a nice night.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Take care.